Hello, everybody. This is Joe Forward, legal writer for the State Bar of Wisconsin. And today I'm here with Bob Ambrogi, who is an attorney and a legal journalist and a prolific writer on his own blog, Law Sites, where he covers legal developments and legal technology. He's also the editor-in-chief of LexBlog, which provides a platform for bloggers all over the country and the world to contribute their blog posts on many numerous practice areas. And he's going to talk about a little bit about LexBlog and our new partnership with LexBlog to bring a platform specifically for Wisconsin lawyers through the partnership between the State Bar and LexBlog. Bob, how you doing? Thanks so much for being with us.
I'm doing well, Joe. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So Bob, can you tell the listeners a little bit about what you do and what you've been up to in the last month or so?
It's been a crazy month, right? I mean, it's been a very strange month. What I do, as you said, I'm kind of both a lawyer and a journalist. I've been a journalist for much of my career, and I'm based out of Massachusetts, where I do actually also practice law. But with my journalist hat on, I both write my own blog called Law Sites, where I do a lot of blogging about legal technology and innovation in law primarily, and I also do a podcast there called Law Next, where I also kind of talk about innovation in law. And then I also work with LexBlog, and LexBlog is a company based out of Seattle that started out as a company that created blogs for lawyers, and it still does that. If you are a legal professional or a law firm and you want to start a blog, law firm, LexBlog can set you up with that and get you blogging. But more to the point, I think of what we're talking about here today, that LexBlog a couple of years ago now launched a kind of a national news site based all around blogging, on the idea that there is so much good, what I would actually call journalism, coming out of legal blogs, so reporting coming out of legal blogs, that is out there, but it's kind of hard to pull it all together. So LexBlog created a aggregation technology that can pull in blog feeds from all over the world, literally, and organize them in a way that makes them useful and accessible to people. So
Right. And I wanted to mention that again, that the State Bar has partnered with LexBlog to create that same concept, but for Wisconsin attorneys exclusively, which we're going to be talking about. And so why do you think it's important or useful for attorneys to be blogging and for companies like LexBlog to showcase that content?
Well, I think the reasons for lawyers to blog are many. I mean, I think a lot of lawyers blog primarily as a means of marketing their practices. But I think it's much more than that. And I think it's very effective at that. And I could tell you any numbers of stories of lawyers who've been very successful in building up their practices and achieving prominence in part through their blogging. But I think blogging is a couple of other things. One, it's a very powerful form of engagement. It's a powerful form of getting involved with others in your area of interest, in your field of law, whatever it might be that you're writing about. And it's a service to the community. It's a service to your clients, but to people in your community. However you define your community. I mean, your community can be people in your literal physical community. It can also be a community of interest. If you're a intellectual property lawyer, maybe you want to engage with other lawyers who practice in that field. So there are a lot of powerful reasons for doing it, and I'm a big fan of blogging. I've been doing it a long time.
Right. And I think one of the things is that Kevin O'Keefe, the CEO of Lex Blog, who is from Wisconsin,
Okay.
he talks about lawyers as legal journalists because they're the ones who are on the front lines and covering a lot of the legal developments that are coming out. Is that what we're seeing? Is that the trend, that a lot of the legal news isn't necessarily covered by traditional media, and that lawyers are really stepping in to ensure that a lot of those issues are being covered? Is that what you're
I
seeing?
think you hit the nail on the head, and Kevin's very right about that. Again, I came out of a kind of a traditional legal journal, well, traditional journalism background, and I was for many years editor of various legal newspapers, both national and local. I used to work for ALM, American Lawyer Media in New York, and was an editorial director there. And what I've been seeing over the past decade, what we've been seeing in the legal media is the same as what we've been seeing in the traditional media, which is that sources of reporting are drying up. A lot of media outlets are struggling, and they're cutting back on their reporting. And at the same time, as blogs have become more popular, they have not just replaced that kind of reporting, but really filled it in supplemented it in a major way. You were, just before we started recording, you were talking about on the day that we're recording this, the Wisconsin Supreme Court just issued a pretty major ruling yesterday. That's the kind of thing where, yes, that's going to get reported in the newspapers because it's a national news story. But there are a lot of things that happen in law that just don't get reported by the traditional newspapers. But among bloggers, what you'll see is there's going to be some blogger who's going to be blogging that story today as soon as the decision comes out. And then tomorrow there's going to be some more bloggers who are going to be writing maybe a little bit more in-depth analysis of what it means and why it's important. And over time, you get a body of reporting, of writing about these developments that cumulatively becomes really valuable. That's why I think these aggregation platforms are so valuable, because maybe you're a lawyer in one city blogging about this stuff, and there's somebody else in another firm or another city blogging about this stuff. But these aggregation platforms let you pull it all together in a way that, from the reader's point of view, makes it accessible and more understandable, I think.
Right, right. So, Bob, what what have you seen in terms of blogging in the last, just as this pandemic has been ongoing? I mean, at the state bar, we've seen a ton of writing happening by Wisconsin lawyers. Are you seeing a lot more writing going on among bloggers in the United States? And Lex Blog, I know you guys started a coronavirus daily. How is that going?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's, of course, this is where our attention is right now. This is where our focus is. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting all of us. And LexBlog started the coronavirus daily. Go to lexblog.com and you'll see a link to it right there. We're pulling together writing from all over the country, all over the world about this topic. It's been really interesting to see what's happened with it, because even bloggers for whom this might not traditionally have been what they'd be writing about or what their focus would be, we're all finding ways to be writing about this. I cover legal technology on my own blog, and what I've seen from my own perspective is a lot of the legal technology companies have been pivoting to make products or services available to lawyers who are suddenly having to work from home. And so I created a whole sort of page on my website devoted to just tracking all these different free offers from companies so that lawyers could know, can I get discounted practice management software? Where can I get access to time and billing software or whatever else? So I think we're all adjusting to this reality we find ourselves in, and therefore that's become the focus of what we're writing about.
Yeah, you mentioned technology. So do you think that, I read a lot about the legal industry and how it's sort of slow to adapt or adopt technology in their practices. from what you're seeing and the questions you're getting, do you think that this will sort of, this time will require lawyers to do a lot more in terms of technology and utilizing technology?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, I think we've already seen that. You've probably heard it said any number of times already, but 10 years of innovation happened in the course of 2 weeks or so for a lot of lawyers. Lawyers who were slow to adopt technology have really had no choice but to try and figure it out pretty quickly. I think a lot of smaller firm lawyers in particular um, were struggling with this at first, and I think a lot of them have gotten up and running pretty well. But I do think the lawyers who were more adept at using technology before this happened found the transition to working from home and working remotely to be easier. Um, but I think going forward, I think we've kind of broken through some barriers in terms of lawyers adopting technology, and I think we're going to see. You hate to try and talk about silver linings coming out of this, but I think that's one of them. I think the legal profession is going to be more adept at using technology going forward, and that means better able to serve their clients and perhaps serve them at in better ways and at more affordable costs. So that could be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, any other thoughts about how this pandemic will impact, aside from technology, how this time will impact the legal profession moving forward, in the next year, 2 years?
I think the other um, big question mark in some ways is the courts. I mean, I assume in Wisconsin it's been probably much the same as here, where the courts have been functionally shut down, except for you know urgent criminal matters and some appellate matter. We've all seen some appellate matters going on through video arguments, but I think there's going to be a real challenge for the courts going forward to deal with the tidal wave of legal problems that are going to come out of this, the bankruptcies and family issues and whatever else uh, that are going to come out of this. I do think courts, like lawyers, have broken through some barriers here in terms of their use of technology, and ultimately that's going to mean perhaps a greater ability to serve more people in somewhat of a more efficient way, I hope.
That's great. Bob, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see your site launched and running.
Thanks so much. We're looking forward to that.